Look at this skyline, a glowing monument to the modern economy. It represents the ultimate promise of the 9-to-5 ecosystem, a trade of your time for stability, structure, and a predictable paycheck. But underneath that glass and steel, the internal reality is shifting. Worker burnout is reaching record levels, and the daily grind is increasingly defined by a sense of pure absurdity. Which brings us to a rather unusual job applicant. Picture a 7-foot-tall lord of the abyss, complete with glowing ember eyes and massive horns, dripping wet from the rain as he steps through the doors of a sleek corporate lobby to apply for a senior associate role. It raises a serious question about our current economic landscape. Exactly what kind of systemic financial vacuum has to exist where even a literal demon is forced to seek out a standard desk job? His first hurdle has nothing to do with holy magic. It's the front desk. Watch this massive, terrifying creature try to attach a tiny plastic visitor lanyard to his leathery neck. It's a moment of instant, calculated humiliation, and it's only the start of a series of rapid-fire indignities. Modern corporate onboarding hits you with background checks, invasive personality tests, and arbitrary security protocols before you're even allowed to sit down. These hurdles do more than secure a building. They act as a test of patience, gauging how much friction a person is willing to endure without questioning the necessity of the process. By the time you finally reach the interview chair, you've already been conditioned to navigate a world where individual preferences are secondary to the rules of the system. Inside the glass-walled conference room, a tired human HR manager flips through a scorched resume and asks the obvious question: why pivot from ruling the third circle for 4 centuries to an entry-level associate gig? The demon sheds a single tear made of literal lava. He admits the housing market in the abyss is unstable, and the daily commute was finally catching up with him. Mapping the last 10 years, we see median wage growth remaining relatively flat, while housing costs keep pulling away. This gap represents a massive affordability deficit that traps workers in debt. For many, that stable corporate paycheck functions as a mandatory survival mechanism. Then there is the secondary drain of the mandatory return to office. Employees are back in congested traffic, spending hours every week in transit, a physical and financial toll that adds up over years of service. When external financial pressures reach this level, the choice to stay in a miserable environment becomes less of a choice and more of an economic necessity. The humor of a demon complaining about rent masks a bleak reality. Systemic financial instability creates a world where corporate submission is often the only viable way to stay afloat, no matter how much power you once held. Next comes the practical skills test. The HR manager slides a laptop across the table and asks the demon to resolve a high-priority ticket using standard enterprise software like Slack and Jira. It goes exactly as you'd expect. A finger the size of a spacebar pokes a single key, and the machine literally bursts into flames. The HR manager doesn't even blink. He simply notes that spontaneous combustion happens to their IT guy every Tuesday, treating the technological breakdown as a normal part of the workday. This illustrates a paradox common in many offices. Companies demand peak efficiency while forcing employees to navigate bloated, uncooperative software. You get trapped in an endless loop between a Slack notification, a Jira ticket, and a system error. These broken tools aren't just technical glitches. They act as a constant, quiet drag on an employee's focus, grinding down their resolve over time. Fast forward to the final result. Our massive, terrifying demon is now squeezed into a standard 2x2 cubicle, wearing a tiny tech support headset resting awkwardly over one horn. He looks utterly defeated. He mumbles into the microphone, asking a caller if they've tried restarting their router, or perhaps offering their soul to the Dark Lord. He achieved his goal of a 5-day workweek and a desk with a window, but the cost was a total sacrifice of his autonomy. Traditional stories of the underworld focus on fiery, dramatic torment. The reality of modern customer service is a tedious, gray, repetitive grind. This system doesn't rely on physical pain. Instead, it extracts the human spirit through 1,000 tiny bureaucratic cuts and a lifetime of normalized misery. It forces you to look at your own desk and ask, are you settling for a system designed to break you? Because, as it turns out, even the devil needs a 9 to 5.